We'll start with invocation prayer. Sahana Vavatu.
Sahana Vavatu. Sahana Bhunaktu. Saha Viryam Karavavahai. Tejasvinavadhitamastu ma vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti.
So the second chapter of this book, Governing Business and Relationships, is called Role of the Intellect. The first chapter was only the introduction. So if you ask me, what's the main point? So self-management equals powerful intellect. So that's the message. But if you want to manage anything external, it is managing yourself. So if you cannot manage your own personality, you will not be able to manage anything external in the world, which includes all your relationships, starting at home, how you handle your profession, your success, how you navigate challenges in your own profession, how you deal with the world, how you manage your finances. So any external management boils down to self-management. And what is self-management? Self-management is nothing but your own intellect supervising your mind. So now he explains what's the role of the intellect, what is the intellect, what's the role of the intellect. So there are 5 topics in this chapter. Can we have that PowerPoint, please? Yeah, there you go. Yeah. So the second chapter is role of the intellect. So there are 5 topics in this chapter. What is intellect? Topic number 1. How to develop intellect. Third is intellect versus intelligence. So we have to understand the difference. Usually people think it is same. So there are 2 different things. Intelligence is nothing but knowledge. Intellect is the capacity to think and reason. So he explains that in detail. Then he talks about 2 motivations which guide anybody's life, acquisition and enjoyment, and how you could be victimized by these 2 if your intellect is not powerful. And then he talks about the human temperaments, the last topic, Sattva, Rajas and Tamas. So this is what we'll be studying for the next few weeks. Right. Yeah, I see Bharat now. Why not take his question, Radha? So that it's an important question.
Sure, Amitji. Makram, can you project the question?
So Bharat had a clarification from the discussion we had.
Reference GBR discussion on the chart explaining grades of change from sanity to insanity. A lot of suggestions were very true, like one has to develop their intellect before it can be used, stay quiet, and allow emotions to calm down before acting, etc. Question to Amitji. In the heat of the moment, when your emotions are about to transfer into being emotional and the situation is progressing towards disastrous results, how can one pause and use intellect? Any additional teaching that can help me improve? Questioner Bharat.
Yeah, so you have the reference. Yeah, so we are referring to this chart. Sane, emotional, eccentric, hysterical, and lunacy, insanity. That's the word which we use. See, I will rephrase your question, Bharat, then it becomes very easy. So you're asking at the heat of the moment when your emotions are about to take over. I mean, how do you deal with your emotions? So, which is as good as asking, when my intellect is not available, how do I use it? Do you get it? When you say at the heat of the moment, what is that heat of the moment? When there is no intellect, my intellect is not available. So, how to use intellect when intellect is not available? I'm just rephrasing. So, if you understand this, it doesn't need any explanation. I mean, it is one sentence is self explanatory, right?
Thank you.
So, that's the reason we need knowledge. That what happens when you lose your intellect. To begin with, you start becoming emotional, meaning you start acting on emotions. Could be any emotions, could be at home, could be at work. And once your emotions overpower your intellect, where is the intellect? Then you have to pay the price. And there is no solution to that. You have to face the consequences. So therefore, Swamiji has been educating us on this main concept of the Bhagavad Gita, of all the scriptures. Buddhi nashat pranashyati. If you lose your intellect, destruction follows. So why get into that situation? So therefore, we need to understand what is the role of the intellect and why it has to be powerful to manage any situation in life, especially emotions, which is a very powerful force in all of us. So whether emotions are positive, let's not talk about negative emotions, even positive emotions, if they are not controlled by the intellect, you could get into serious trouble. It could be emotion to earn money, it could be about your children or whatever it may be. So that's the reason we need to strengthen our intellect. So ideally, intellect should be available before the action. This is what we aim for. That should be our ultimate aim in life. So that you don't succumb to your emotions in any situation. So before action, you understand there is logic, there is reason, and you decide on a course of action. We are talking in the context of managing your emotions. It's not that we are saying dismiss the emotions, but even to act on that emotion or not to act on a particular emotion, it has to be sanctioned by the intellect, which is before action. So that is the highest intellect. Second type of intellect is you are about to succumb to your emotions, but just in time your intellect kicks in and you're saved. That itself is a degeneration of intellect, but somehow it is available. It becomes available when you're about to do something emotional, when you're about to succumb to your emotions. That is number two. Number three, good many of us would fall into this category. You succumb to your emotions and then you regret. But at least there is some kind of awareness, isn't it? why did I, I shouldn't have said that to her or him, or in a profession also, wherever it may be. But you succumb to that particular emotion. But after that action is done, you understand that, I shouldn't have done that. So intellect becomes available after the event, after the action is done. And if you are wise, if you are exposed to this knowledge, you will understand that, in future I should not succumb to my emotions, and for that I need a powerful intellect. So it may serve as a good education. You know, it may not be the ideal way to go about, but at least we can educate ourselves. And the fourth is the worst. Like, even after you succumb to your emotions, there is no awareness at all. So again, vast majority of people, they fall into this category. The typical example is close relationships, where it is more pronounced. Couples, same mistakes they keep on making over and over again, and there is no learning. Nobody learns. So intellect is not available at all. So that is why it leads to major confrontations, and sometimes even when it can go beyond repair. And then there is separation, because intellect is not available at all. It was not available in the beginning. It was not available even after the action was done. So these are four levels. So your question is, somewhere you have to fit in. It's not number one, it's not number two, definitely. It could be number three, it could be number four. And secondly, it is not in black and white. It's not that we have lost our intellect 100%. We can lose. When you become emotional, definitely you lose. But to the extent your intellect is available, now I'm answering your question. To that extent, perhaps you can become aware. But if intellect is not available at all, at that moment you can't do anything. So that is why I said, if intellect is not available, how to use intellect is not possible. But if shades of intellect is available, could be 5%, 10%, there is hope. Otherwise, you have to face the consequences of your action, and nothing can be done, and we see this happening in the world. People, they succumb to their emotions, and it could be a disaster, But usually we get away because most of the situations are innocuous, but the principle is same. You become emotional and something silly you do, it could, you may resign from your job, for example, heat of the moment, you have arguments with your colleagues or with your boss. What do you do then, So these are the main points, Bharat, I could think of.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, welcome. Is group okay? All right. So, role of the intellect. So that's the chapter number 2. And before we get into the topic discussion, there is introduction to this chapter. So, Veera, can you read the first paragraph, please?
Sure. Hari Om, Amitji. Chapter 2, Role of the Intellect. The world that living beings pass through is ever-changing. Morning turns into noon, noon into evening, and evening into night. Childhood turns into boyhood, manhood, and old age. So do profit and loss, marriage and divorce, health and ill-health, peace and war, life and death. Everything is in a flux of change. In and through these fluctuations and oscillations, you must learn to navigate yourself towards success and peace in your life. Vedanta, the ancient Indian philosophy, helps you learn and apply this art to cruise through challenges and emerge triumphant. Just as a surfer sports with the waves lashing on the shore and comes out recreated, and the art of navigating through all facets of the challenging world emanates from self management.
Perfect. So, what we need to understand is, see, you need to assess the world. We all are living in a world, right? So, you need to understand world as it is. Sounds very elementary, but if you understand this statement, your life is made. But that's not what is happening. We want world as per our expectations. It should be like this, it should be like that. It's not possible. If you're in Michigan, you better be prepared for cold weather, at least for 6-7 months. So that's the way it is. So there is interesting word for the world in Sanskrit. It's called as Jagat. Those are from India, they will know what I am talking about. But it's a good word to learn, Jagat. Jagat means change. It doesn't need any explanation. Jagat is a Sanskrit word, I repeat. Jagat is a Sanskrit word for world. And Jagat means change. So world means change. So how are you going to deal with these changes? Throughout your life, you have to deal with these changes. Nothing is permanent. Nothing is static in this world. There is peace. That's the nature of the world, right? Also, peace is followed by a conflict or a war. It changes. Peace does not last. It may last for a while, but it has to be followed by, it could be a minor confrontation, it could be a prolonged confrontation, it could be a war-like situation. It changes. There is profit. Profit has to followed by what? A loss. There is birth. Where there is birth, it has to be followed by death. So you may not face this in your life, but you never know. Before you know what is happening, your entire life can change, literally overnight. We think it always happens to somebody else. Not necessarily. I mean, I don't want to scare you, but this is life. We have to understand. What is the guarantee that tomorrow morning we get up and all of us will be alive? We hope. Why not? But what is the guarantee that all your family members will be safe and sound? We want them to be safe. But there is absolutely no guarantee. That's the world. You can't say why it is so. That's the nature of the world. There is joy. Joy has to be followed by sorrow. Again, sorrow is followed by joy. There is honor, there is dishonor, there is knowledge, there is ignorance. So that is the assessment we are talking about. So you have to understand what kind of a world we are living in. So what kind of a world we are living in? It is in the flux of a change. It's constantly changing. Nothing is permanent. Nothing is static. So without powerful intellect, you cannot deal with these challenges or with these changes. So that's what he's telling us in the introduction. And you will encounter these changes. How can you not? There is a joy, fine. It's a nice feeling. But the joy has to be followed by sorrow at some stage in life. There is profit. Everything is plus in your life. Excellent. But it need not last that way. It could be minor fluctuation, it could be major fluctuation, doesn't matter. In a relationship, you may have a wonderful relationship, and sometimes due to no fault of yours, that relationship can fall apart. So, how do you deal with these changes? You cannot if your intellect is not powerful. So, to deal with this changing world, ever changing world, what we need is a powerful intellect. And he is giving that example of surfers. It's a nice example. I don't know how many of you know the background. Swamiji was lecturing in a famous place in Sri Lanka, long time back, 40, 50 years back. It is famous for surfing. I don't know which place. Mostly Westerners, they go there for surfing, because they get like right kind of waves. So how they enjoy the waves, massive waves in California, we have seen that. I've seen it personally in a place called as Santa Cruz. Has anybody been there in California? It's amazing. I mean, it's so scary for you and me. But I've seen young boys and girls, they plunge into it. And how they go up, how they go down. So they don't shy away from when the big wave comes. There is a way to tackle that, which you and I cannot do that. So he's giving that example. So similarly, you cannot shy away from facing challenges of life. Let's say there's a problem in a relationship, in your personal relationship. Just to explain the concept. See, you cannot walk away from that situation. Just as you cannot walk away from a wave if you are in the ocean. Do you get the comparison? So how do you deal with a challenge in a personal relationship? I'm talking about, it could be a minor challenge. It need not be something great, but if you don't fix the minor challenge, it becomes an issue. So how do you deal with that challenge? How do you deal with it? If there is a challenge in a relationship, any relationship, how do you deal with it? What is it that you need to tackle that problem, that situation in your life? Nobody has a problem in a relationship. Imagine that you have a very bad husband or a wife. Nothing wrong in imagining. I know everybody has good spouses, but why not imagine? How do you deal with that situation? What do you need? What tool you need to deal with that situation?
Powerful intellect.
That's it. There is no this one word answer, intellect. If you don't have intellect, mind will take over. That's what is happening to everybody. The moment mind takes over, you can't deal with that challenge at home. Fine, you could be having a wonderful relationship. There could be perfect harmony in the relationship. You may have some problem with your finances. You need to adjust your finances. You look at your bank balance and you see, oh my God, there's a mortgage and children's education. Plus, I have to save for my future. Maybe there's some wedding coming in the family. So, how do you deal with that financial challenge in your life? Again, you need a powerful intellect. If you don't have a powerful intellect, if you don't have clarity, you will end up making a mistake. This is what most people they do. They keep on borrowing or they keep on spending beyond their means. You could have some situation in your office, in your workplace. So I keep on hearing all the time, workplace means chaos. It may not be all the time, but good many times it is like that. So by talking about the challenge in a workplace, problem is not going to go away. So it could be you could have a tough client, you could have a tough boss, or you could have colleagues who don't cooperate. These are the challenges which we all face, isn't it? So how do you deal with that? Again, you need a powerful intellect. The society in which we live in, there's a different political system in each country, or within the country, It can change ideas and ideologies. I'm talking about political. So, how do you deal with that? We can go on multiplying examples. So, just as surfers, they don't shy away from facing the waves, you and I cannot shy away from what?
Facing the world.
The challenges of the world. And to face challenges of the world in day-to-day life, what we need is a powerful intellect. This is how we slowly building up the thought flow. And another example, I don't know whether I mentioned in the past. See, those who live in cold part of America, like let's say Michigan. I mean, how do we drive? I mean, it is an art. When first time I came to North America, a long time back, maybe 20, 22 years back, 20 years back perhaps. I mean, it was in Canada. So I joined driving classes. I'd been driving for my entire life. But they said, no, your Indian license is not valid. So you have to give driving test, and there was some, what do you call that, classroom training. So I was supposed to take 3. That was enough. That was mandatory. But somebody suggested, in fact, one Canadian lady who used to attend the classes. In fact, her mother suggested, both mother and daughter used to attend. Daughter was 60 that time, mother was 85, 90. She said, Amit, you have to learn how to drive in Canada. And thank God I followed her advice. So instead of 3 classroom classes, I think I attended, I don't know, maybe 10 or 15. And it was the most fascinating experience of my life. So I had been driving in India my whole life, but in Canada or America is totally different. So how do you drive in cold weather? It's totally different. So similarly, we need to understand that each situation is different in life. So how are you going to deal with that situation? So that is another example which will be useful. Please continue, Veera.
The management of affairs of the world would therefore need the application of a well-developed intellect. To the extent the intellect is developed to that level alone, it can steer the mind and actions in the right direction. Whatever skills you possess will be lost if your intellect is not strong enough to hold the mind in its place. Hence, you must ensure that you strengthen your intellect to maintain a perfect control of the mind for exercising your managerial skills to the optimum.
Underline the statement, whatever skills you possess will be lost if your intellect is not strong enough to hold the mind in its place. Can somebody explain that statement? It's so practical. Whatever talent you have, if your intellect is weak, you will not be able to use that talent. Could be anything. Let's talk about your own profession. It becomes easy. Whatever skill I'm repeating, whatever skills you possess will be lost if your intellect is not strong enough to hold the mind in its place. You could be a talented person, but your talent is of no use if you cannot manage your mind. So can you give an example to explain what he's saying? It's so practical, this statement applies to all of us.
Example, doctors cannot operate on their relatives.
Yeah, good. How it applies to you and me?
Road
It
rage,
applies.
road rage, then your mind takes total control over your intellect. Or
Correct, but the question is about talent. What talent? He's talking about a talent, right? Whatever skills you possess will be lost. Whatever talent you possess will be lost if
Cricketer,
you cannot
cricketer,
supervise your mind. Yes, Veera.
sportsman, cricketer, when in his, to be more specific, in his nervous 90s, right, when he wants to hit a century, if his mind as or emotions take control, he loses the focus. If the intellect is strong enough to say that, hey, you know what, we need to make proper assessment of the situation and run through, then he succeeds.
Mm-hmm.
Let's say in a professional environment and you are very eloquent, you know your subject matter, you are in a meeting and you suddenly get triggered by someone, you know, he says something that you might feel offended by, and your emotions just overcome you and you start screaming at that person, for example. So your mind overpowers in this moment. The emotions overpower the intellectual level or the skill level.
Yeah, good, very good. What else? See, you could be talented. I'm talking about your own profession. It becomes easy. But if you cannot manage your personal relationship, see, it will disturb you. And you will carry that mental agitations in your workplace because you can't, because internally you're torn apart. You could be a talented person. Which poem highlights this? The three long poems in Somaji's book. They're like masterpieces from English literature. Where he talks about a highly talented painter. He was a prodigy, but he lost everything. He lost his talent. He lost everything. Which is that poem?
Andre Del Sarto.
Andre Del Sarto. How many of us know about Andre Del Sarto? It's not that we don't know, but but we all know Raphael, the painting we are talking about. And who the other painter?
Michelangelo.
Michelangelo. I mean, the whole world knows about it. Andre Del Sarto was far talented than this. It's not you and I saying that. They are saying. Michelangelo is saying he is far more talented than me. But then how come we don't know much about Andre Del Sarto? He could not manage his personal relationship. And that destroyed his life completely. He lost his talent, he lost his wife, he lost his finances, everything. Are you getting the connection? It's very simple, applies in all facets, but here it is quite pronounced. So whatever skills you possess, he was a prodigy. But his intellect was not strong enough to hold his mind in its place. Personal relationship. It could happen in a professional relationship. You may have a beautiful relationship at home. Why not? Like Lena gave example, you don't know how to get along with others. If you do not know how to get along with others, your talent is of no use. So to use your talent to be successful in life, your intellect has to manage your mind's emotions, likes and dislikes, impulses. Are we okay? Yeah, next paragraph. Can Charu read the next paragraph?
Yes, sure, Amitji. The crux of management, therefore, lies in strengthening your intellect and not by merely burdening yourself with procedures laid down by management consultants bereft of the intellect. A powerful intellect alone can render your actions more objective, more productive in the roles you play in life. William Shakespeare highlights this idea in his play Othello, wherein The general appointed a mathematician with no experience of warfare as captain in his army, that too in preference to promoting his experienced lieutenant.
Perfect. So, what is telling us that you must know the art of navigating through the challenges of life. And how do you do that? That is self-management. We have been using this word self-management, self-management. What is self-management? Where do you apply this self-management? In what situation you manage your inner personality? When things are smooth or when there are challenges in life?
Challenges.
Challenges in life. So what is that? What is that self-management? That self-management, how you manage yourself, how do you manage your inner personality, is nothing but intellect managing the mind. And if your intellect is not powerful, you will not be able to deal with any challenge, any situation in life. You will not be able to manage anything efficiently, which includes your relationships, which includes your profession, or doesn't matter, whatever you manage in life. And then he gives example from Shakespeare, Othello, a very famous example. So this is how the play starts. Those who know Othello, Iago is the villain, and Othello is a Moor, he's a general in the army. So Othello promotes Cassio as a captain in the army, and Iago is a soldier. Whole life he has been a soldier. And Cassio does not have any army background. So Iago, he cannot digest it, So he is complaining to his friend. This is how the play starts. Rodrigo, Iago is the villain. He is complaining to his friend Rodrigo that I don't understand. How can a master bring in a rank outsider, meaning one who doesn't have the army background, and that too a mathematician? He uses the word arithmetician, meaning mathematician. I have been in the army whole life, so he was expecting that he'll be promoted as a captain. But Othello, he, what do you call this? He passes him over, and he brings in Cassio as a captain of the army, and that's what he doesn't understand. Like I'm a soldier. Cassio is a mathematician. So how can a mathematician run the army? See, there is a powerful message there. You can't take it literally. Definitely, it means something. So, what does it mean? Othello was a smart guy. So he brings in a mathematician to run the army or that particular battalion. So why he passes over Iago? Why Iago was disqualified? Or what qualified Cassio? It applies to all of us.
Because he was a problem solver?
Iago
Who is
had
the problem solver?
I can't remember the name he said, but the mathematician was a problem solver.
Yeah, Cassio. I got you. Yeah, he's a problem solver. Meaning what? You're not wrong, but what does it mean?
Aman has a hand up. You can unmute.
Yeah, we'll go one by one. What does it mean?
It means he has an immense intellect.
He has a powerful intellect. Excellent. So what does it mean in dealing with a particular task?
That his intellect will rule his mind, and he won't be emotional, and so he's the best person for the job. So maybe.
So, correct. So if you have a powerful intellect, if you have clarity, if you have logic, you have reason, you can analyze, you can handle any situation in life, including your own profession. See, if you're a CEO of a company, whom would you promote as a head of the department? It's quite simple. There are two candidates. Whom would you promote? A thinking person or a non-thinking person? It's quite straightforward.
A thinking person.
A thinking person. So if you have that capacity, if your intellect is powerful, you can handle any situation in life. You'll be able to manage your family, you'll be able to manage your profession, you'll be able to manage your finances. But if intellect is not developed, if intellect is weak, you will mess up everything, isn't it? So that's the message. If your intellect is powerful, you can handle any situation in life. You'll be productive, you'll be efficient in whatever you do in life. So Shakespeare is educating the entire humanity. Mathematician, that's the word. Yes, Aman had a question.
I think he just raised to answer the question, Amitji.
Mhm. So are we okay?
Yes.
Okay, good. So what we can do, the topic first, the first topic is called as what is intellect. So let's read the whole topic, just maybe 4 or 5 paragraphs, and I will explain it to you next week. So that's your homework. So you have to read the introduction to the book, which we covered just now, 6, 7 paragraphs, and then what is intellect, the first topic. So you go home, you read, and next week I will explain in detail. So Charu, can you read the whole topic?
Yeah, sure. What is intellect? The intellect is the ability to think freely, logically, the faculty to reason and judge without bias. When you develop a strong intellect, your thinking becomes clear, your reasoning precise, and judgment perfect. Among the three living species, plant, animal, and human, the human alone possesses an intellect. The plant has only a body, no mind to feel emotion, nor intellect to think, whereas the animal has a body and a mind with feeling, emotion, but lacks an intellect. Only a human has all three: body, mind, and intellect. A human being cannot survive without an intellect. As a human, therefore, your first obligation in life is to develop, strengthen your intellect. All beings, save humans, have a built in program for them to live their lives. Their living patterns are determined by nature. Each creature lives in accordance with its fixed pattern, wherein there is no choice of action. Only human beings are faced with the dilemma of choice. The intellect plays an all important role to choose the right course of action at every moment of their lives. Hence, to play your role in the field of management, you would need a well developed, powerful intellect.
So here he spells it out. What is intellect? We have been using that word intellect, buddhi, but what actually it means. So you have the whole week to read these couple of pages. I have a meeting with Swamiji. They have called me today to have dinner with Swamiji. So I have to leave in 5 minutes. It's quite close from here. So we got 5 more minutes. So in case something is not clear, feel free to clarify.
Amitji, I have a question.
Yeah.
So if, I mean, it's clear to me what the mind is and what the intellect is. But these, it's like in terms of how to strengthen it, we're studying this and learning it and applying it through, reflection, etc. But would you say that it's right, let's say, conclusion to say every time I I feel an emotion coming up, or there's something that is bothering me, like it's that this is the moment to understand this is the weakness that I have here in this moment with my intellect.
See, this battle between mind and intellect will continue throughout your life. Only when you have 100% developed intellect, which is extraordinarily high state, then only you can manage your mind completely. But this battle between your mind and intellect will continue till the end. So that's the backdrop of Bhagavad Gita, isn't it? You study Bhagavad Gita, so you know. So Kauravas and Pandavas, they represent nothing but mind and intellect. So that a clash between mind and intellect will continue. Your mind wants to eat something. Simple example I am giving you. Intellect will come and interfere. There is a nice dessert there, chocolate mousse. The way they decorate that, you have a desire for that, and doctor has told you, no, enough desserts you have eaten. So mind will keep on demanding that. Mind wants to indulge in the senses. Mind wants to spend beyond its capacity. The moment you interact with your children, you become emotional. With your spouse, you may become emotional. So that battle will continue, and which is a positive thing if you have this knowledge. The moment you face that challenge, you have to use your intellect. If you don't use your intellect, you will succumb to your mind's likes and dislikes, your emotions and feelings and impulses. So it's a lifelong battle. So sometimes you may win, sometimes you may lose. It's okay. So if you lose, you understand, you educate yourself. Yes, my intellect is not strong enough. Okay, Nina?
Yes, okay. Thank you very much.
Somebody else had raised the hand. Aman again, I think I saw. I think your hand keeps on coming and disappearing, I think. Okay. Who is Aman? I don't know. I just see the hand. Is it just a hand, or there's a person behind the hand? Okay, I think.
Yeah,
Hmm.
my question was that wouldn't uh, do all animals not have the ability to possess a mind, body, and intellect except humans? Or are there a couple exceptions, like a human's ancestors?
So we'll discuss it next week, but it's a common observation. Only human being has got capacity to think and reason. Some animals, you can say, they have rudimentary intellect, like dog. You can teach few tricks to dogs. I know one dog. If you offer him biscuit, he dances. He has been trained like that. He turns. It's very cute. And then the owner throws the biscuit. So there is some rudimentary intellect. It can understand the difference between the owner and a stranger, a male and a female. Some animals, they have rudimentary intellect. Actually, it is instinct of the mind only, but yes, some kind of rudimentary intellect is there. Very, very basic, like monkeys, some basic things they can perform, But there is no comparison to human beings. A human being could have the most powerful intellect, in fact, has. You can harness time, space, causation, and whatnot. So some animals have rudimentary intellect. Rudimentary means very, very basic intellect. But every human being has intellect. You may use it, you may not use it. Good many of us don't use, but that does not mean we don't have the intellect. We are born with intellect, buddhi. We will discuss it next week.
Thank you.
Yes, Madhu.
I have a question.
Yeah, please.
Let's say if we are hungry, your body needs enough food and it controls your emotion, and now your intelligence takes over intellect. My question is, are they related, like one affects the other, there is a dependency, or are they separate? Like, I mean, you can still have intellect and control your intelligence.
No, not intelligence, mind. Word is mind.
Yeah, mind. Like, what I'm saying is, like, are they dependency to on each other, or there's exclusively separate, so that you have to develop your intellect to a certain level where you can control the mind, or they're depending. If your body is hungry, it'll affect the mind, and it'll affect your intellect.
No, see, it's very simple. You have a desire for a sweet. You like chocolate mousse. Simple example I'm giving you. It's a mind. So mind craves for chocolate mousse. And only if you have a powerful intellect, you can control that particular craving. Or it's okay. It's not that all the time you have to say, no, there's nothing wrong in having dessert once in a while. But intellect has to sanction it. But if mind is powerful, it will overpower the intellect and you'll get into trouble. So we already discussed an example of a diabetic patient, isn't it? The diabetic patient, he is fond of sweets. His mind craves for the sweet. And only if his intellect is powerful, it can control that particular craving. Otherwise, he will get into trouble. So you apply this example in all facets of life. So it is the intellect which has a capacity, to answer your question, to supervise or to manage your mind. If intellect is not powerful, it will overpower your intellect. This is what is happening to all of us. It's a question of more or less. But if intellect is powerful, you can handle any situation in life, any emotion, any likes and dislikes, any temptation. You will be tempted. You may be drawn towards sense objects. But
And the follow-up to this one is, I've observed that a person, like for example myself, having the intellect, like making the decision most of the times in the day, but there are situations where you give to your mind, right? Like, so what we are saying is a person who is extraordinarily intellect is who always possess intellect at any given point. Is that possible, or
see,
there's
it depends on the strength of the intellect. It is not in black and white that one fine day you will have powerful intellect and then you will apply. If your intellect is developed, let's say 30%, so to that extent, your life will be guided by logic and reason in any situation, at home, at work, or wherever. If your intellect is developed 80%, 80% of your life will be based on logic and reason. 20% there will be, you'll find you are succumbing to emotions, likes and dislikes. If intellect is developed 100%, everything will be based on logic and reason. There will be clarity in whatever you do. So it's not in black and white.
Oh, and
To
last
the
question.
extent it is your intellect is developed, to that extent it will translate into life of clarity in your day-to-day life.
Are there skills that are tools that exist out there, one, to measure my today's intellect and see if I'm at least developing my intellect?
Already we gone through that chart. No?
Yeah.
Sane person, sanity, emotional, eccentric, hysterical. You find out now where you are. That's the ultimate tool. You can't go wrong. You may cheat others, but you cannot cheat yourself. That's the most powerful tool. So you find out. So 100% intellect is sanity. That's what you are referring to.
Mhm.
Zero intellect is insanity. So we all are in between. None of us can claim we are sane. None of us are insane. So we all are somewhere in between. So you find out where you are. So if you are at emotional level, so it will reflect in all facets of your life. If you're eccentric, it will reflect in all facets of your life. If you are sane, it will reflect in all facets of your life, whatever you do. So it's not in black and white.
That makes sense. Thank you.
All right. So let's conclude for today, and I'll see you next week. So make sure that you do your homework. What is the homework?
Read 2 chapters.
Forgot. What
Reflect
is
on
homework?
what we read.
What we read.
The introduction of the chapter and
Okay.
reading the next topic.
What is intellect?
What is it?
Okay. Good. Excellent.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
See you next
Thank
week.
you.
Thank
Bye-bye.
you.
Thank you.